Mark.com.
Welcome to Peter and Roughie's Football Show, sponsored by Arnold Clark. Monday, 21st of September. Tam McManus, Alison McConnell here with us. Roughie's wife changed the Wi-Fi. Didn't tell Roughie. Roughie's trying to get in. He'll be with us. He'll be with us shortly. Who knows? Anyway, lots to talk about. Are Alfredo Morelos and James Tavernier guilty of a lack of sportsmanship? Is Odsonne Edouard trying to work his ticket, or is he just tired and needed a rest? Just a few of the things that we'll be talking about. Scott McKenna on the verge of a move to Nottingham Forest. Is that a blow to Aberdeen and their hopes of finishing third? And can Jack Ross and that Hibs team actually live up to the expectations of the chairman, Ron Gordon? Just a few of those topics that we want you to tell us about. Like, share and follow us on our Facebook and subscribe to us on our YouTube channel. We would love to hear from you. So Tam and Alison in place, and we will be hearing from Steven Gerrard, Jack Ross. We will hear from Ryan Porteous, Neil Lennon, as well as Alex Dyer. Lots of football, and thank you to you for joining us. So, first and foremost, let's have a look at the weekend score Saturday and Sunday to see how it all played out. And as you can see on the Saturday and the Sunday, Celtic 3, Livingston 2 in a 5-goal thriller. Dundee United edged it by 2-1 against St Mirren. Similar scoreline between Kilmarnock and Hamilton. St Johnstone at Ross County, it was Ian Vigurs with that solitary free kick that ended up in the back of the net. You couldn't separate Hibs and Rangers, and Aberdeen, well, who would have predicted that? A 3-0 defeat at home to Motherwell. And if that's the scores, how does it affect the table? Let's have a look at that Premiership table and see how it all pans out. Rangers at the top by a point, Celtic with a game in hand, and at the bottom end, Livingston, Hamilton, St Mirren and St Johnstone. It's tight down there as well, and Motherwell climbing in the direction we thought they would be in the first place. So, well, Tam, you were there, Easter Road. It was no shortage of controversy and a lot of goalmouth action. I thoroughly enjoyed it. What about you?
Yeah, I thought it was a great game, Peter, from start to finish. I thought Hibs got their tactics spot on, playing with the two strikers, Nisbet and Doidge. I didn't think they would do that. I thought he would maybe shore up a little bit, but, he was very aggressive in his play. Jack Ross and Hibs were aggressive, all over the park. Got after Rangers when they could, defended properly. And up against a very good Rangers team. Listen, that's the first time I've seen Rangers live in probably a couple of seasons. And, some of the play, midfield to front, the interchanging with the front three and the midfield three was superb. And they scored a wonderful second goal, Rangers, and they looked a threat all day with Ryan Kent coming off the wing and Hadji. And, they were really good going forward. But Hibs, the opportunities they had going forward, they took them. They put pressure on the centre-backs. Rangers pushed their two full-backs up very, very high, and there was space for Nisbet and Doidge to drift into when Hibs won the ball, and it worked perfectly. They got the 2 goals from crosses. Rangers will be disappointed with the 2 goals that they lost from cross balls, but all in all, I thought a 2 each was a fair result. I thought Hibs deserved something from the game with their level of performance, and Rangers, I think, will rue missed chances, and obviously the double save from Marciano, which was world class. Arfield will be kicking himself that he never scored probably the rebound, but all in all, great game, great advert for Scottish football, and a 2 each draw.
Yeah, absolutely. Hi to Stuart Ramsey from sunny West Midlands. Lots of people commenting. Great match, disappointing with the result. Should have held on as they had 75% of the play, says Fiona Docherty. Hi to Barry Pinchbeck, Alan Ewart, Niall Kane, Dougie Liddell joining us, James Ferry. So many people want to talk about the game. Tommy Ferry's joined us, John Prosser as well, Stuart Massey, and lots of people. Una Brennan, thanks for joining us again. We really do indeed value your contribution, and as ever, if you are posting a point today, try and keep it to the panel. We will answer as many as we possibly can, and I would ask you, please, if you can, refrain from being abusive or insulting to anyone on our feed on YouTube and Facebook that you don't agree with. They are just participating in, of course, talking about football and their favourite team. You might not like their team, but at least we're getting lots of people giving us their comments, and we do value them. So if we can, pay particular heed to that. What about the game itself? What did the Hibs manager, Jack Ross, think about it all?
That's not really for me to say. My focus was on all our prep this week was about how we dealt Rangers in possession, because they're very good. And then how we believed we would create and score against them, and the players did that. And we played a system that would allow us to have bodies in forward areas, and we wanted to play into areas on the counter, and we showed that.
Well, there was a big question over whether Hibs had the credentials. They certainly turned up and got back into the game even after going behind 2-1, Alison. But there's a wee bit of, as ever, a bit of talk after the game about a lack of sportsmanship. Alison, what did you make of it all? I mean, was James Tavernier and Alfredo Morelos right to snub Ryan Porteous? I mean, there was even a suggestion that the manager, Steven Gerrard, blanked Ryan Porteous at the end.
It goes back to that old saying, doesn't it? Show me a good loser, and I'll show you a loser. I think when you've dropped points, you've conceded the first goals of your league campaign, you've lost the impetus at the top of the season. I think you can allow for people being a bit sore, but listen, it's nothing. It's absolutely mountains out of molehill. Things that are said on the park go on all the time. There are exchanges between players and opposite benches and opposite dugouts all the way through the game. And in actual fact, if going into the game is showing anything to us at this point in time, when you're going into a stadium that's empty and you're hearing some of the shouts between players to one another on their own side and from managers to players, and then the exchanges across teams, it's, this thing is routine. It genuinely is routine. So yes, of course, it's poor sportsmanship, but can you understand why? Yes, again, you've just you've slipped up for the first time, conceded a bit of ground at the top of the table, and that's life in football. I think, and I think it's best just glossed over almost. I'm not sure that there's too much really that you can say about it. That we've not all been here and seen it before. It happens.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it's easy for you to say, Alison, but on this Facebook and YouTube, I can tell you you're all going mental about it. Here's what Steven Gerrard had to say about Ryan Porteous.
I think Porteous was saying that Tav's a bad loser, which I think is a bit cheap coming from him. I think he got sent off for a real bad tackle when he was losing 3-0 last year, so I didn't agree with that, all the arguments, but it is what it is.
Yeah, I mean, listen... I love
this. It's playground stuff. It is. It's playground stuff.
It's fantastic. That's what the joy of it all is. There's a wee bit of needle there. And I'll tell you, there's always a wee bit of needle, Tam, when teams out with Celtic and Rangers suddenly try and rock the boat.
Yep, absolutely. And Hibs went out there yesterday and were aggressive in Rangers' faces. And Rangers didn't like it. And that... there's no divine right for Celtic Rangers to turn up at Easter Road and just have all the ball and knock the ball about without any pressure. That's not the way football works. And Hibs, to their credit yesterday, were right in about Rangers. They pressed them at the back. Rangers have not lost a goal this season, but to be honest, teams have been playing one up front against them. They've not been tested at all, Rangers at the back. But they were certainly tested yesterday with Hibs playing the front two. And Jack Ross spoke about playing, working on it all week, in possession, out of possession. It worked a treat. You're two up against the two Rangers centre halves. So I still think there's question marks about Helander, particularly physically, and Goldson. And Hibs went after them yesterday and deserved their goals. Christian Doidge, you've seen, listen, Boyle's offside. It's one that linesman's missed. He's a yard off. But when the ball comes in, there's only one winner there. Christian Doidge is aggressive. He wants it more than Helander, and that will disappoint Steven Gerrard, losing goals in that manner. So I don't think Steven Gerrard should even have entertained that question yesterday. I don't know who asked the question. Hopefully it's not anyone from PLZ. But I don't think he should have even entertained that question. It is petty. Steven Gerrard's an experienced guy. He's letting a 21-year-old young boy at Hibs rile him, and Porteous has riled a lot of Rangers players, and he's done his job, Peter. He's done his job. He's put them off their game. Likes a Morelos and Tavernier and Gerrard's. At the end is commenting as well. So,
listen, don't you tell my fraternity and sorority what they can and cannot ask. If we think there's a noise up and a question, we'll ask it, right?
Yeah,
PLZ,
you certainly got the right answer.
Sky, we're all in there. We want a line out of it. We want a fight after the game.
You certainly got it.
Well, yeah, absolutely. Terence Minto says, rubbish, Alison. It doesn't matter what sport it is. Shake your opponent's hand. John Doherty, there's no excuse for being unprofessional. Listen, I don't know about you. I mean, I know exactly what type of person I was playing football. Sometimes if I had a right good fight on the park, I've walked off the park without shaking someone's hand, and I know exactly how it is, so I'm certainly not going to knock them for it. What I would say is Ryan Porteous had something to say about it. He's got a code of conduct on this matter.
I'm not bothered about that. You know, what happens on the pitch should probably just stay on the pitch. Nothing needs to be said to the media about it. Not really. I think it was no more than a coming together, really. So I didn't ever think it was any more than that.
Oof, he didn't think so. I'll tell you one thing, by the way. Another referee and another day could have sent him off for that. I mean, it was an elbow, bang, takes him out nicely in his view. But I think Morelos had a case. I think Morelos looked at it and thought, wait a minute, I've run into it.
I don't think it's a red card, Peter. I don't
No.
think it's a red card. I think it's a coming together. I think it's a bump. It happens all the time in games. And for me, it's a yellow card, if anything.
Yeah.
I don't think it's a red, Peter. I don't think the handling booking is even a yellow card, to be honest. I think it's a coming together. He's got his body across Hadji, as you do in a game, and he's tried to shield the ball, and unfortunately he has caught Hadji in the face. But for me, that wasn't a red card either.
It's funny, Alison, down south, VAR, I mean, if they'd have had a look at that again, it may well have been a yellow card. I mean, I looked at it and I thought to myself, okay, there's a wee bit of Morelos runs, Porteous has got his arm up on it. Another day, another referee would have, could have looked at that as a red card. I thought he was a lucky boy to escape any punishment. I
thought he was lucky too. I really did. I actually think the handling one might have been worse. I think the Porteous one might have been a booking. I thought the handling one might have been worse, but I thought he was very, very fortunate to escape sanction for it. I really do, and I think if everyone sees the game through the colours of the club, but if it happens in a high-profile game or any game that you're viewing from your perspective, you're screaming for your opponent to get disciplined for that.
Porteous got booked for it, Peter. He got booked for it.
Yeah.
I thought he walked a line. I really did. I think on another day it could have been a red.
Yeah, absolutely. As you can see, Roughie there, you can tell Roughie's getting, all sorts of problems. We had him there for a moment, but his face was all scrunched up. I'm dying to see if we eventually get him. See, do you know what? See, when he told me last week, Tam, that he was getting new Wi-Fi in the house,
alarm bells.
Oh, absolutely. I thought to myself, now here is a guy who's technically totally and utterly inept. I mean, even putting the red button on his control to get the telly on is a chore. I mean, it's a stretch. So as soon as he said that to me, I thought, I don't think we're going to get him on Monday. But nevertheless, we will persevere and try. One thing I would say, and this might be controversial on it, when you're talking about... I always like good Scottish talent that's available. Alison, if I were Celtic, I'd go out and buy Ryan Porteous right now and let Ayer go wherever he's going.
I think Porteous he's really caught the eye. He performed well yesterday, and as Tam says, he done his job in just getting under the skin of people, just getting into people's heads, and just having a good old-fashioned noise up, really, and coming out the better for it. Ayer's situation is interesting, isn't it? There's been this perennial link all summer with Milan, and a few insinuations that maybe his head was turned by the interest. I'm keen to see what might happen over the next few weeks before the window closes at the beginning of October, but there's definitely, to go back to your point about Scottish talent, I mean, Porteous is shown up well since the season began for Hibs, and Alan Campbell too. I thought yesterday was outstanding again for Motherwell.
I was going to say something to you there, and I might as well mention it just in case you think, Ali, you're the only one getting pelters on this. John Miller says, Peter, are you actually capable of telling the truth about anything? VAR is a total shambles. John, the great thing about this programme is you get an opinion. You're not going to get anybody pussyfooting around with it. I'm giving you the opinion on it. Tam's giving you it. Alison. Roughie can't give you it today because nobody can hear him, not even in his own house at the moment. But you're getting an opinion on it. Ryan Porteous, I thought he was lucky. I thought he could have got a red card off another referee on another day. if you don't like that opinion, we can only offer it to you. He's got a bit about him, Porteous, and he's got a long way to go. He's gone through a learning curve as well. Tam, Hibs goal, Fiona Docherty's asking about it. Offside?
Yeah. Listen, it's offside. He's a yard off, half a yard off even. But I think it's a difficult one for the linesman because I think he's blocked from view. I think he's maybe half his body's onside and half's not. So, listen, some of them you get, some of them you don't during the season, Peter. It's a tight offside call and it went in Hibs' favour, but I'm sure Rangers will get a few in their favour this season. And to be honest with you, Hibs could have had a penalty. Christian Doige went down in the box. I thought it was a wee tug from Barisic. I didn't really notice at the time, but I seen the highlights last night and there's definitely a wee tug there as he's about to put the ball in the net. So, listen, maybe they evened themselves up, but he's offside. There's no doubt about it. And Hibs got a little bit fortunate, but I don't think it was an easy one for the linesman.
Yeah, David Scott rightly gives me a kick in the teeth. You've got a bit of a cheeky say, just because Porteous is playing well, you think Celtic will sign him. The only reason I mention it is because they are obviously in the market if Ajer walks out the door. If Rangers are in the market for a centre-half, I would sign Porteous in a minute, but on the basis...
He's not going anywhere.
On the basis that nobody's shaking hands with him from Rangers, it's highly unlikely that he's going to join Rangers, to be honest with you. But he's got a wee bit about him. David, if I've offended you because you're a Hibs fan, my apologies, but listen, he's a Scottish boy. I think he's a great prospect. I really hope he can make that jump to international football. Boy, do we need somebody with a wee bit about them who annoys people, but first and foremost defends, and he can pick a pass, Tam.
Yep, he's excellent, Peter. I've seen him last season. I've seen him a couple of seasons for Hibs since he broke into the team, and he's been a little bit rash at times. I'm sure the boy will admit that himself. The tackle on Barisic last season was, I think indicative of, hot-headedness, rashness, immaturity, everything in that, it showed up in that tackle when Hibs were losing 3-0. But I think this season, he seems to have came back a more rounded player. He's more composed on the ball. There was an instant yesterday where the lovely little bit of play down the left-hand side, it would been easy for him just to lash a ball out for a throw-in. He pulled it back. And I think he tricked the Rangers, took it around the Rangers player, then passed it inside. And I commented it on the time. He says last season Ryan Porteous would have volleyed that into Rose Edge. So I think his composure's improved. He's always been a good defender. He's aggressive. I like that in a centre half. He gets in and about people and defends properly. He throws his body. I think he headed a shot yesterday from Steve Davis, which was rocketed towards goal. He stuck his head on it. So no, I think he's a great prospect for Hibs. And if hopefully Hibs can keep him as long as possible.
Yeah, absolutely. And lots of people commenting, as ever, on Alison's books. They always like Alison to move their heads so they can start a conspiracy theory on any of the books that she's got behind her. Because, Tam, you and I have the right idea. Nothing behind us. No chance of a conspiracy. We're just living off people's contempt and hate for us. But they're trying to get a wee snatch there of Alison's books to see.
Any blue books
that can nail her. Well, I'm not all of that. Listen, she had a Celtic statistics book about 2 months ago and she got slaughtered for it. So, I mean, if there's anything up there, and Kev is in Blackburn, he's saying the exact same thing. I just wants Alison to move her head so you can have a look to see what type of book she is reading.
There's a big dictionary in there somewhere that might help me one day.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, some of the colouring in books are fantastic as well. So lots of people talking about the Hibs game, and that's the fantastic thing about it. Roughie, are you okay? Are you with us? Are you with us? Yeah. Yeah. Are you happy? How's your Wi-Fi?
I seem to be here. I don't know. I honestly don't know what's happened.
Is it ventriloquist?
I'm quite happy. I can hear everything. Yeah.
Can you hear everything? Yeah. Are you okay, Roughie? What about the Wi-Fi?
Yeah, I'm fine.
Yeah.
Right.
What about the Wi-Fi, Roughie? It's been a big problem over the weekend.
No. I came in early this morning with Anne and she said 4G would be fine. So, no, I did my best.
Yeah, absolutely. Roughie, just before we go on to the next game, Hibs Rangers, we're talking about it. It was a cracking game. What did you make of it?
Yeah, I thought it was. I thought it was end-to-end stuff. I was really impressed with the way that Hibs took the game to Rangers. It was back and forward. I thought a lot of good play in it. obviously you have just spoken about the incidents, and that sort of marred the game a wee bit. But no, I thought it was excellent. I thought it was good, and I said it would be a big test for Rangers, this one, and this was the test that just sort of let themselves down at the end of the day.
Yep, interesting stuff. Okay, I'm not quite sure. Somebody, apologies to anyone who's getting a little bit of feedback. I'm not quite sure if it's Tam's microphone or whatever, but we will try and rectify it. It's Roughie's microphone, so there we have it. So hopefully, if Roughie can have a wee fiddle about with that microphone just to see if he can sort out the feedback on it, that'd be great. Apologies to people on that one. Listen, Hibs Rangers, fantastic. There's so many people talking about it, and you can tell a lot of people tuned into our Twitter feed. Tam, I think it eventually went to about 170,000 just watching that clip of Steven Gerrard. So you can tell there's a lot of people right into it when you get a good contentious game. That's why we love Scottish football.
Yep, listen, the views were unbelievable last night. Obviously, Steven Gerrard giving his views on Ryan Porteous, and I mentioned it earlier. Steven Gerrard should be above that. He shouldn't be commenting on stuff like that. I think it was just petty. I know he was asked the question, but I think if he had the choice again, he would just ignore it and go on to the next question. But people like to see managers riled, and I think Steven Gerrard's definitely been riled by Ryan Porteous. So that's why probably you had so many views. Probably a lot of them were Celtic fans or Hibs fans enjoying it.
Yeah, Tony Holton says Roughie needs 5G. Where Roughie lives, by the way, 5G is an absolute luxury, believe me. That will be coming in the next 10 years for him. And also, as well, over and above that, Ian Williamson says, Peter, you and Roughie are fast becoming the smashy and nicey of Scottish football. Let's rock. Anyway, apart from anything else, Peter, where's Tam's books? Let's not be silly. Tam is in East Kilbride. There are no books in East Kilbride. It's as simple as that. Listen, I was out there on the Saturday, Celtic against Livingston, and I have to say, listen, I'm going to be, this will annoy a lot of Celtic fans, but if only for the fact that I know him so well, believe me when I tell you this, Edouard felt tired, not up to playing in the game. Now, some people say he was rested. I am telling you right now, the manager's reaction to me when I looked him straight in the eye and I asked him on 2 or 3 occasions about the whole Edouard situation, his reaction was he was not happy that Edouard was not available to play in this game, Alison. Now, I suggest to you that there's no smoke without fire. That's how I put it when I walked out of Celtic Park, Alison. There is something in the background about it. If he stays beyond October 5th, I think the manager will breathe a huge sigh of relief.
I don't think it will just be the manager. I think you'll have every Celtic supporter there breathing a massive sigh of relief. But let's be honest, this is where it does start to get anxious, and none of us know what's really going on. His representatives are very tight. They keep themselves to themselves. There hasn't been a lot that has been said publicly by his camp, but I think over the last month or so, what you can say is the optics don't look good, do they? Declaring yourself tired and fatigued at this stage of the season, I think, is always going to raise a question mark. And I think maybe the fear at the back of Celtic's minds might be echoes of what happened with Moussa Dembele, and right up in the morning of that last day of the transfer window, the message was still coming out that this player is not for sale at any price. We cannot sell him. We cannot afford to go and source a replacement with hours left of the window. He can't be sold. And then we had a huge circus that went on at the training ground, and in the last hours he was away. And I think there's just a feeling that if Edouard starts to agitate, now I'm not suggesting he will, I'm not privy to any of that information, but what I would say is he's been at the club. When you take in the loan deal prior to being a permanent Celtic player, he's been in Glasgow for 3.5 years. It's a long time. I think he had anticipated that a move might have materialised before now. And I agree with you, if the window closes and on the 6th of October Edouard is still a Celtic player, the club will be delighted. but I think you've got a bit of a distance to go before you get there.
There's a few twists and turns, and I'm going to be blunt about it. Brian Roberts says Eddie is off. John Prosser says, Peter, stop stirring it about Odsonne Edouard. Let me tell you straight, the manager was not happy that he wasn't available for that game. I am telling you, because I looked him in the eye, and I know when Neil is talking and trying to put on a kind of a brave face, managers sometimes say one thing and answers, and then you know exactly what's going on behind the scenes. And I'm telling you, there is, at this moment, all the way to October 5th, it's going to be a roller coaster ride with Odsonne Edouard. The manager at the moment is towing the party line. This is what he had to say on Edouard.
Well, like I say, he's not for sale. So we have no interest in him, no confirmed interest in him. So a lot of this is rumbling behind the scenes. It's all speculation at the minute. And the club will do what the club does best for the club.
Yeah, Patrick McMenamin says, oh please, the look in his eye, Eddie's on the move. I never said it was a look in his eye. I'm just telling you exactly what I know between speaking to a manager and what was going on. He was not happy that he wasn't available for that game. Now, in the background, twists and turns can happen. One thing I would say is, at the end of the day, Tam, if they sell him and don't replace him, all hell will let loose.
Yep, absolutely. I agree with everything that Alison was saying there as well. It's eerily, similar to when Dembele left. There's been a lot of talk about Edouard. I don't understand how he can be tired, Peter. I don't understand it. He's been out injured. He went away and played for France under 21s. He's came back. I don't understand how he can be tired. Listen, we've had a lockdown. We've not played a game for months and months and months. We're in the beginning of the season. I think that is absolutely nonsense. I think if I ever said to a manager, I don't want to play, I'm tired, I think he would have had me out the door. Maybe I'm not worth as much as Edouard. But you know where I'm coming from. Yeah. If I'm a manager, Peter, and a player comes up to me and says, I don't want to play, I'm feeling tired, I'd get him out the door. Right? Yeah. I would. I'm sorry.
Well, not this one. This is a fine balancing act. This is how I know Celtic are playing this one. This is a fine balancing act between keeping him happy and then waiting for the right amount of money to come in. John Flanagan says, we also know when you and your panel are spinning as a yarn, Peter, says John. Watch this space. Roughie, whether it's Alfredo Morelos because Lille, Fiorentina, West Brom, whether it's Ryan Kent with Leeds United, whether it's Odsonne Edouard with anybody or Ayer at AC Milan, the one thing is for certain, Roughie, Celtic and Rangers are on this edge where they've got to be careful losing a player and not being able to replace him before that window closes. I don't know why I persevered there. I don't think it's going to happen for him. Alison?
Yeah, I mean, I have tons of sympathy for the managers in this situation. They're like politicians almost. They're asked to present a public face when there's all sorts going on in the background. And the thing with Edouard in particular is that Celtic also have quite a big, or PSG are due quite a big sell-on fee of any amount that Celtic might get for him. So that pushes the cost up somewhat too. But what you tend to find in these last few weeks of the window is that clubs have targets. So they have maybe targets from number 1 to number 5 or to number 6. If you don't get those targets at number 1 or number 3 and you start to move your list about, then what you might find is that there are clubs coming in at this end of the transfer window, and the big problem that gives you is that you have so little time yourself to go and source a replacement that's agreeable to all the terms that you're offering, that suits the budget, and we're not just talking here the upfront fee, but which suits the salary demands that you're offering, and also now Celtic don't have this carrot of Champions League football. That's gone, so I think Thursday night's game is critical, ensuring that at least you have some kind of European competition this term, but it's a very, very fine line over the next couple of weeks. It really is, but I agree with Tam. I think no one is really buying the fatigue line. It makes you raise an eyebrow immediately. He didn't play. He went away then with France. He performed excellently for his country. Came back, and we've just not seen the same Edouard, I don't think, since the season began. And I think it'll be squeaky bum time, I think, at Celtic Park, because you just do not want to lose them at this stage of the season.
Yeah, Thomas McGovern on YouTube says every Celtic fan knows he's off as soon as the right offer comes in, and any player as well. So, I mean, this is the nature of it, and we're aware of that in Scottish football for every club if the right kind of money comes in, because that's the situation Scott McKenna finds himself at Aberdeen, having a medical in London, all set to be paraded as a Nottingham Forest player, and Aberdeen, I think, will get maybe around about 3 million. Oh, I think if you're talking to the Aberdeen board, I bet they wish they'd taken the 7 million when it came in from Aston Villa, but 3 million might be a good deal. You can give us your thoughts on that, Dons fans. Just on the game itself with Celtic, Tam, I was there. They looked as if they were cruising. The positive is a Yeti, because he looks cool as ice when it comes to being in front of goal. He's calm. He finished again. He scored 4 goals in 8 games, and you know, he hasn't had too many starts in those 8 games. But when he gets the ball in front of goal, he's cool. When Celtic suddenly got to 3-2, they started to get nervy, and if Alan Forrest had stayed calm, Livy could have had an equaliser in the game.
Yeah, they could have. Listen, Livingston are poor travellers. You know, they've not won away from home in, I think, 13 months. So, listen, everybody was expecting Celtic to roll them over 3 or 4 nothing, and it didn't work out like that. And Celtic lost a couple of goals again. Obviously, lost one against St Mirren. So, I think at the back, there's definitely a few issues with Celtic at the back in terms of centre halves. But in a Jetty, they seem to have got a goal scorer. They've got a poacher, as you said, very, very composed in front of goal, very calm, sticks it away lovely again. And I don't think he's 100% fit yet either. I think there's more to come from a Jetty. So I think you play him, ideally play him up front with Edouard. I think that would be a great front two for Celtic. But I think there's still minor issues at the back. People are losing, lost 2 goals against Livingston and another one against St Mirren. So I think they need to tighten up at the back. And as you said, Ayer, there's obviously rumours about him leaving. And I think if Celtic can get good money for him, I'd let him go. I'd let Ayer go. I think Celtic don't get better than him.
Yeah, Porteous. I'm just playing the noise up with you, Tam. Anyway, apart from anything else, that's Celtic and Rangers taken care of. Scott Brown, incidentally speaking today, we'll hear from Scott tomorrow as well, but he did mention something which I think for Celtic and Rangers fans is very pertinent. Listen, points will be dropped along the way, but when you are trying to either win a title or in Rangers' case, win a title and stop Celtic winning 10, not every performance is going to be vintage, Alison. You're going to get the Livingston situation. You're going to get the Rangers and Easter Road dropping points. There was one point in the commentary yesterday which I thought was, absolutely accurate with the Rangers, is sometimes they're trying to score the perfect goal. You're not always going to get great performances. It's just about winning in some cases.
Sometimes it's just about grinding it out and make sure you walk away having won the game or taking something from the game. And invariably in Celtic and Rangers' case, that means winning the game. But you're right, there will be points dropped, there will be twists and turns, and a big part of the reason for that is pressure. It's playing with a certain kind of intensity and a certain kind of real pressure over what this season means. Celtic are going for a historic 10. Rangers are in the position of trying to stop it. It lends a whole extra layer of weight to what's already a fairly pressurised league at the best of times. There's again, to go back to just old sayings, you can never keep both sides of Glasgow happy. There's always someone that's coming in for real pressure and criticism, and that's the nature of it. But in this particular season, that's times 10. That's intensified all the more. And I think when you factor in that pressure, so much of this campaign is going to come down to which dressing room deals with that better.
Yeah, Sean Grogan says, Hibs played well. Rangers were trying to walk the ball into the net. Stuart Massey says, whoever wants Ayer can have him. And I'm just looking here at Celtic and Rangers. Big week for them in the Europa League, as well as Aberdeen and Motherwell. Of course, Rangers, Willem II, and Celtic against Riga. And both those sides were in action and had wins at the weekend as well. So on Thursday, it's going to be interesting to see how all 4 teams fare there. Let's hope we can get all 4 Scottish teams through with these one-off matches. You said it's hard to keep Glasgow happy, Ali. It's certainly not hard to keep Motherwell happy, Tam, because this was a real coupon buster for all of us. Who predicted Motherwell to go up to Pittodrie and win 3-0?
Oh, it's a shocker. That is a coupon buster. You know, Aberdeen have been playing really well. You know, we spoke about it on Friday. You know, they've bounced back from a shocker of an opening performance against Rangers, and you know, they've come back strongly. I was really impressed with them at Easter Road. They looked so solid defensively. I couldn't see them losing a goal, never mind 3. You know, and Motherwell got up there, and you know, Motherwell, obviously we know how good their squad is. They're in a false position, and they're starting to string a few wins together as well. And brilliant victory for Motherwell, brilliant performance. You know, 3 great goals, and they'll be delighted, and they look to push up the table. But for Derek McInnes, you could never have seen that one coming. And all the Aberdeen fans, you know how well they've been playing, but it just shows you in football you can never predict anything.
Stephen Robinson, as you would expect, delighted after the game.
Against a very good Aberdeen side, we had a lot of respect for them. We worked diligently on how we would prepare against them, and it worked well. So I have to give all credit to the players. When you've got one day in between, you know, European games, which, you know, we don't really have a squad to go and compete Thursday, Sunday. They give absolutely everything. They did when they were losing games, and they certainly do when they're winning games.
Yeah, Motherwell against Hapoel Beersheva on Thursday. Aberdeen going to take on Sporting Lisbon. So tough, to say the very least. 2 positives, Alison, on Motherwell. He's mentioning there, and I think it's great news for us, that Alan Campbell just gets better and better with every game. 22 years of age, so hopefully he can forge out some kind of Scotland career. And the other positive that I think I would mention, that picking up on what Stephen Robinson said in the after-match comments, very complimentary about Tony Watt. Now, I think if Tony gets his head down, works really hard, he could eventually start banging in the goals again for Motherwell, and I think that would be great.
He's had such a nomadic career up until now. He's never really settled and found a home, and you would like to think that at Motherwell he might find it, because I think once you're settled and once you're relaxed, you tend to come into the best form of your career if you feel at home. And I think he started well, but I think it's still early days for him. You would want to just let it, see if he can sustain it and have a wee bit of consistency, because I agree with you. I think there's a raw talent there. We've all seen it. We've talked about it ever since that goal against Barcelona, which is probably a real milestone round his neck at times now. But the ability is there. It's about doing it consistently and doing it over a long period of time, and everyone wins from that. If he can find a bit of form, then Scotland aren't in a position to overlook anyone who's scoring goals. So you would automatically think that it would lead to some kind of international recognition. But before you get to that point, I think it's crucial that he shows that he's capable of sustaining a run of form for Motherwell first.
Yeah, body blow for Aberdeen. I think Scott McKenna will be a Nottingham Forest player before the day is out. There won't be somebody coming in. I think Derek McInnes reckons that there's no more money to try and bring anyone else in. This is what he had to say about McKenna's departure.
I'm pretty sure they're close to a fee being agreed, and Scott's probably on his way down south to try and get things concluded one way or the other. But I don't know that for certain, but I'm pretty sure that's the way things are looking. So I'd be surprised if it was to fall through now. Yeah, listen, Scott was always going to move at some point. I prefer to speak a wee bit more once things are concluded, but he is a player who, at 16 caps, at 23 years of age, he's only going to improve. Not only is he a good player, he's a brilliant person. He's a great boy. I've enjoyed working with him, and it's always with a heavy heart when you lose good ones. He's another one in a long line that move on.
That $3 million will come in handy, Tam, because Aberdeen, like many clubs, are suffering financially from the loss of fans not being inside that stadium.
Yeah, listen, it's welcome money, Peter. That's big money for Aberdeen at the minute. You know, they lost a lot of money over the period of coronavirus when we were shut down. So that will come in very handy. I don't think Derek will get a lot of that to spend, if any of it. I think Aberdeen have got plenty of cover at the back. Obviously, replacing McKenna will be difficult. You know, he's a very good player. He's a Scottish international. He's going down to further his career. As Derek said, he was always going to move on. You can never predict anything, but as you said earlier, you maybe probably got offered more than that before COVID struck. But nobody's got a crystal ball, and they tried to get more money for him, but it's not worked out. But if they can get 3 million, 3.5 million with add-ons, I think Scott McKenna can go down to the English Championship and do well, move on again. I think he's ready made for there. He's a big, strong left-sided, defender. They don't grow in trees, and he's quick. So I think he'll do it very well in the English Championship. I think it's a league that's made for him, and hopefully Aberdeen will see some money further down the line.
Yep, we wish him well. Of course, you're alluding there to, of course, add-ons, which is a key feature for Scottish clubs. I still think he's got a fair bit of learning to do, but as Derek pointed out there, he's got international caps. He will get better. He's young enough, and we wish him well. Niall Kane's a little bit cynical about it all, saying what happened to them holding out for 7 to 10 million. Well, I think now, certainly clubs at Aberdeen are looking, thinking, got to take the money on it. When he was actually playing really well, suddenly 7 to 10 million would have been absolutely fantastic. But I think he faded a wee bit. Whether it was all getting to him or not, I don't know. But nevertheless, that'll be confirmed shortly. Elsewhere in the Scottish Premiership, Dundee United, Lawrence Shanklin, nice little goal, Ali. Almost an overhead kick, but he whipped it around into the roof of the net. Good to see him get his first Scottish Premiership goal, and Dundee United fans will be hoping it's the first of many. Yeah,
quite fancy that Dundee United will stay up. I think they'll be fairly comfortable this season, but I think Shanklin will be crucial to that. I think, again, they'll just be wary and wanting to stave off any interest that might come laterally in the window, because I think he'll score goals. I think he's just got that striker's instinct. We've seen it time and time again. And I think he'll be pleased just to have got the goal at the weekend and then look to kick on from it now.
Yeah, two similar scorelines. Kelly managed a 2-1 win over Hamilton. Two similar situations. Eamon Brophy sent off, and also Tam Richard Tate sent off. Two challenges. Brophy, I think when you look back at it, I thought it was one of those ones that could have done him serious damage. The Kelly, the St Mirren, the Hamilton player, I beg your pardon. And then Tate's in the corner. I don't think Richard needed to make that challenge in the corner when he got his red card.
Yeah, listen, I think the referees get both of them right. I think they're both, lunging in, and they're poor tackles and both red cards. And in terms of the Brophy one, it's a striker's tackle. You always say that, but it's a pure tackle. And Kilmarnock done superbly well to come back and win the game with 10 men. I think that's a massive result for Alec Dyer. Kilmarnock, I've been pretty impressed with them this season. They've got a good togetherness, and they've certainly got a good spirit about them, which showed on Saturday when we won the game with 10 men. And obviously St Mirren, I think that's a massive result. I think, with Ali, I don't think Dundee United will be in any ball at the bottom. I think if they can keep Shanklin, they can push into that top six, because that top six is wide open. Underneath, I think, Celtic, Rangers, Aberdeen and Hibs, I think will be a top four. And then the next two places are up for grabs. Ross County are up there, early doors, Kilmarnock, Motherwell pushing in there as well, and Dundee United. So there's plenty to play for those two last top six places, I feel.
Yeah, and of course, St Johnstone against Ross County, it ended 1-0. It's one of those free kicks, Ali, where Ian Vigurs whips it in. The goalie thinks, well, I come for it. He's waiting for a flick from someone. Ends up in the back. Yeah, ends up in the back of the net. But still a good away win. I thought it was going to be a draw. Tam, did you pick an away win?
Yes, I picked Ross County. Yes, Peter. You'll find out later on in the show.
Yeah, absolutely. Ali, it was a good away win for Ross County, although St Johnstone could have actually snatched a point right at the death.
Yeah, I was actually up in Perth on Saturday. Yeah, Murray Davidson had a shot right at the whistle. I think it was 89th or 90th minute. But to be fair, that was St Johnstone's first shot on target for the whole game. Now, Scott Tanser, especially in that first half, was just putting balls into the box, and just no one there to take it. They're crying out for a striker. And I know Stevie May has come on, but I thought Callum Hendry, just looked bit bereft at any confidence and any conviction at the weekend, but they were creating chances. They had a lot of possession, but you just couldn't have seen them scoring at all. Ross County, I think, needed it. I think that's their first win in 6 games. I think they really needed it, and push them up the table a wee bit. But I think you fear for St Johnstone. But I think when you play like that at home, when you're not picking up points, I think you can very quickly become mired at the bottom of the table.
Yep, okay. You can give us your thoughts on that. I'm going to read out a few of your thoughts on YouTube and on Facebook as well. Don't forget, like, share and follow us on our Facebook and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Gary says, I saw Aberdeen on Sunday, Peter, and Scott going means I think they're going to have big problems as the big man Ash Taylor got hauled off at half time. Yeah, that's another problem of this whole situation. Dale Kelly says, am I the only Celtic fan that doesn't want Ayer to go? Dale says he can play out from the back, he's pacey, he carries a goal threat when he's in attack, and he can defend, yet all I hear is let him go. I'm puzzled. Why let a top player go at a snip, double the money Milan are offering before it's even been looked at? This season is a monster, but a season for everyone involved at Celtic. Dale, it's a good point. I mean, lots of Celtic fans want him to stay. It's all about opinion. Some like him, some don't. Tam, it's all subjective with regards to Ayer.
Yeah, I think he's a good player, but I don't know. I just get a little bit of sense that he thinks he's maybe better than Celtic. That's just the impression I get when I look at him playing. I think if you're getting upwards of 10 million from him, I think I would take it. I would take it. I think he's got a mistake in him as well. And I think Celtic can get better in there. I think for the money that supposedly these clubs are offering, AC Milan and teams like that, I don't doubt he's a good player, but I think if you're getting that sort of money, and they signed him for peanuts, it's a big fee for Celtic, to go and collect. And I would sell him for anything over 10 million.
Okay. What about the team of the week? Let's see who Gabriel, our reporter, has picked this week.
Ofe Marciano made 2 world-class saves to keep Rangers out at crucial times. Hakeem Odoffin scored for the second time this season and is such a threat from set pieces. Bevis Mugabe put Thursday's red card behind him and impressed with a goal and assist. Ryan Porteous may rub people up the wrong way, but he's a natural defender and was impressive again. Martin Boyle admitted it was a quiet game for him, but he still created both of Hibs' goals. Logan Chalmers was key to United's victory and could be a big player for them this season. Alan Campbell is stepping up in David Turnbull's absence and was man of the match yesterday. Callum McGregor ran the game again and scored a cracker to get his side back in the match. Chris Burke refuses to slow down despite his age and had a hand in both Killy goals. Tony Watt is now up to full fitness and his endless running garnered praise from his manager. Lawrence Shankland scored his first Premiership goal and it was a beauty that few players could pull off.
Oh, Tam, it's a 3-5-2. Have we missed anybody? Look at your face there, shaking your head.
Have you missed anybody?
Go on.
Well, I think Kevin Nisbet's very unlucky not to be in it. I thought he was brilliant for Hibs yesterday. I thought he had a great game. I actually thought Ryan Kent was brilliant for Rangers. I thought he was superb. So there's 2 straight off the bat. I thought Paul McGinn was great. Yeah. So I think Gavin needs to up his game.
You need to stop calling him Gavin. That'll kill him. He's already taken a pasting from Roughie. Yeah, listen, I thought you'd have picked the entire Hibs team, to be perfectly honest with you. Gary McGurn has actually made a very, very good point. Peter, do you think any Wi-Fi will come in for Big Roughie before October's deadline? Just asking for a friend. Honestly, this is what I've been doing for 8 years. Just spoon feeding him all the time. So we'll need to go and sort out his.
Peter, he must have a new code on. You got a new Wi-Fi box. You get a code on the side that you put in. Surely he's got a code or something.
Listen, to be honest with you, the only thing he worries about is making sure his Ovaltine is just the right temperature when he's drinking it in the morning. Anyway, apart from anything else, I will sort it out with him. And Greg Stott says, hey, Peter, Tam, Alison, always tuning in from Stratford, Ontario in Canada. All the best for the new week ahead. Greg, we are delighted that you're tuning in from Canada. There are so many people tune in, get their feed of all the Scottish football. And if you download the app as well, you'll never miss a trick on it. All the latest news from Scottish, English and world football as well. Champions League, unique video content. So Greg, download the app if you can, and over and above that, you'll get it all on our website too. And interestingly enough, coming out over the next 24 hours, we've got our new commercial. And Tam, you're looking great in it. I mean, it's absolutely fine. Once they hear your one-liner about what football means to you,
you told me to say it.
I mean, honestly, once they hear your line, as if I'm going to spoon feed you that line. Are you kidding me? I'm really looking forward to it. And Stuart Massey says, "Is Roughie back on furlough?" Yes, he is. He is at the moment.
He'll still pick up his fee today.
Oh, he'll bill us for that. It's a Stonewall certainty. That one line that he delivered is worth its weight in gold. And Dave Edwards says, "Hi guys, Dave and Brian are in Western Australia and they always tune into the programme, and that's why we're absolutely delighted that you do indeed." I'm trying to read as many of them as I possibly can. So we've got the team of the week. Some people agree, some disagree. Ryan Kent is a very good shout because played well yesterday too. And of course I knew you were going to mention this because you never stopped bleating on about it yesterday on your Twitter account. And also Una Brennan. Una, thanks for joining us. Frank Green as well. What about the predictor? Because Tam, you are honestly, do you know what? You're like a greyhound out of the traps at the moment. Here's how it all looks, Tam. Your smile is not gone away.
Can't believe Ruffy's not here to see it.
Oh, he's out of it. Have a look at this. Look at that. I mean, I've gone back ahead of Roughie, but you are in blistering form. I mean, Ali, at 20 points this early in the season, looks like an unassailable lead, but I've got 1,001,000 people here, actually, who commented on the fact that Rangers could have gone 11 points clear. And suddenly we are all sitting here looking at a neck-and-neck battle, which is the way we wanted it.
It's a good point. I mean, I saw there was a lot of Celtic fans taking a bit of glee in that at the weekend, and understandably so, like seeing their team take the ascendancy again and have this game in hand, which means that they can go back to the top of the table. But it was a fact at the time that had that the way the fixtures fell and the way that Rangers were playing, that they could have potentially opened up an 11-point lead. It was just a fact at the time. It didn't materialise that way. And that's the thing with the season ahead. You can't call it, you can't predict where you're going to slip up or where you're going to pick up points, because there's a possibility here, just given the pressures and tensions at play, when someone's breathing down your neck, that you will slip up. I don't think too many people would have expected Celtic to drop points so early on either. So, it just creates a bit of interest and a bit of intrigue, but it was a factual observation at the time.
Yes, absolutely. I love the way Ali always tries to just draw a line under it. There it is. This is why it was said, and this is where we are now. Niall Bree says, "Has Roughie not got any techie neighbours who can help an old man get back online?" Roughie doesn't have any neighbours where he lives. It's as simple as that. He lives in the middle of nowhere. So it's I know that we're going to have to drive up to the mad area he lives in to try and sort out this simple Wi-Fi problem, which, as anybody knows, when a Virgin or a BT man or a Sky man comes in, if they change your Wi-Fi, you just quite simply put the code in of the new Wi-Fi and you're off and running. So there you are. Now, I'm looking here. That's Scottish football. You can give us your thoughts on it. We'll be reading out as many of them as we possibly can. And if you stay with us all through the week, you'll get constant updates and news bulletins first thing in the morning and, of course, in the evening bulletins as well, keeping up to date with Scottish football with Gabriel Antoniazzi. And as far as English football is concerned, if you were watching it over the weekend, I certainly enjoyed watching Harry Kane and Heung-min Son because they were absolutely fantastic, Tam.
Yeah, they were. I seen the highlights from Match of the Day, and wonderful win for Spurs. And I tell you what, they're under pressure, Tottenham. They got off to a poor start. They just squeezed by a Bulgarian team during the week with literally a full team out, Lokomotiv Plovdiv. So they need a result. The pressure's been building, I think, on Jose. But that's a fantastic result. And obviously with Gareth Bale coming in as well, gives the whole club a boost, gives the fans a boost. So you might just see them pushing on now, but I think they'll. I don't think they'll finish in the top four. I don't think they'll be anywhere near the top four. I think the top four will be your big four from last year, same again. Maybe even Arsenal pushing in.
Yeah, Liverpool. Well, in the end, you can imagine Jurgen Klopp more than happy that Sadio Mane got a double on the day.
I love it when we get the reward for these kind of situations. And that's, yes, you are right. The first goal was a nice piece of football. Everybody involved pretty much from passing the ball through, putting the cross in, and then Sadio comes in front of his man, so really difficult to defend the goal, and gave the game the right direction.
Yeah, Sadio Mane. And of course, the other great stat from that, which is relevant to Scottish football, I wonder if there is somebody who's similar to Thiago. They've just signed him. I wonder if there's somebody similar in Scottish football. I'll need to look into the stats on it, Alison. But Thiago made more passes in the second half than the entire Chelsea team did for the game. I mean, that's no mean feat, isn't it?
Extraordinary. Absolutely extraordinary. But it'll be interesting to see just how Liverpool fare, because I think it's one thing to go and win a title and then another to go and successfully defend it. So I'm intrigued just to see how they cope with that over the course of the campaign. But I agree with Tam. I saw the highlights of the Spurs game last night as well, and I thought Jose was really under pressure, and when they're behind and they looked sluggish that first 15-20 minutes, and then all of a sudden this bang, Kane turning provider and setting up the 4 goals. It was a tremendous turnaround.
Yep, we always like to keep an eye on. Yeah, go on.
Thiago's a poor man's Alec Gogic.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. I can tell you, listen, since you've joined that Hibs TV, they're flying for you at the moment. It's just nothing but positivity. I'm absolutely enjoying the fact that you love all that. But anyway, apart from that was our brief look at English Premiership football. But of course, our main focus on a daily basis is Scottish football. Tomorrow we'll hear from Scott Brown on the programme. We might even hear from Alan Rough on the programme. Fingers crossed we sort it all out for poor Roughie. And I think so many people are just looking and saying Roughie looked like a lost soul. And Gary McGurn has summed it up perfectly. He says, Peter, this is not the show for Big Roughie. Well, it's certainly not the show for Big Roughie today, but it will be tomorrow. Hi to Fred Purkis from Logan City in Australia. Love the show. Keep safe. Thank you very much. And Hugh Hepburn Duff has got the last word on this programme. It's not often I get Hugh to get the last word on this programme, but I'm going to let him have it today because he says, Liverpool will be champions again, Peter. And who am I to argue with you, Hugh? I think you're 100% correct. But as for Scotland, who knows? We will argue about it non-stop, as Alison has pointed out, week in, week out, day in, day out. And of course, every hour, everybody's opinion changes. We'll also give you updates tomorrow on Scott McKenna's move to Nottingham Forest. Don't forget to like, share and follow on our page. And if you get a chance on the YouTube channel, subscribe now and you'll get a chance to interact with us on a daily basis. From Tam, Alison and somewhere, Roughie, thanks for watching.
Expect the best used car deals guaranteed. Visit arnoldclark.com.